Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to be going over some books that I either read when I first started getting back into reading or books that I have read since then that I think would have been great when I was first starting to get back into it. We have a few different genres on here. It's mostly fantasy romance, but there's a couple of thrillers, there's at least one dystopian, some paranormal. But when I first started getting back into reading, I mostly just read thrillers and then slowly transitioned into more paranormal fantasy. But I have, I believe, 11 on this list. Some of them are just standalone, some of them are series. Some of them are series that I haven't finished yet, but I've read at least one of the books and I recommend at least that first book. But let's get started with the first book, which is The Girl Who Was Taken by Charlie Donlea. And this one is a mystery thriller. The mystery revolves around Nicole and Megan, and they are both high school seniors and they are at a beach party in their small town. They both go missing the night of this beach party. And then a year later, Megan escapes and tells the story of how she was taken, which ends up becoming a bestseller. And then we have Nicole's older sister, Olivia, who is now a fellow in forensic pathology. And she ends up finding a clue about Nicole from another body, the body of a man who was connected to Nicole's past. Olivia reaches out to Megan, hoping that she will be able to tell her more about that night, because she obviously wants to find her sister and there's other girls that have been going missing, and she believes that this is all connected. Megan has started to remember more than what she has originally stated, and as Megan's memories start to come back to her, the two women work together to piece together that awful night. I read this a while ago, back when I really first started to get into reading again, and the twist in this one kept me super engaged and on the edge of my seat. Like I said, I read it a while ago, but I do remember really enjoying this. I remember the mystery being exciting. I remember thinking the author did a good job of making you second guess your predictions and keeping you hooked. The ending was really shocking and tense, and thrillers just worked really great for me when I was first getting back into reading because they did a really great job of keeping my attention. And when I found a good thriller, I would be thinking about it even when I wasn't reading it, trying to put all of the pieces together and make predictions and figure it all out. And I definitely felt that way with this one. And I think this one worked well for me when I was getting back into reading, so I recommend giving it a shot. The second book is Ask for Andrea by Noelle W. Ely. And this is the first book in the Ask for Andrea, I think, duology. The two are like interconnected standalones. The second book, which came out fairly recently, is a prequel, but this is another mystery thriller. But this one is a little bit different. We follow the ghosts of three women who were all murdered by the same man. The three of them end up finding each other and do what they can to stop him from doing this again and to try to get justice for themselves. And this one was different from other thrillers I've read because you know from the beginning what happened and who did it, and you are reading to see if they are able to stop him and to get justice. We see them following their families, following the detectives, following the man himself. So we see the aftermath of everything, how the investigation's going, how some of their family members are handling it, and what's going on with the man that did this. And for me, I got more attached to the characters than I usually do in a thriller because we were actually following our victims and getting to know them. And I really think that caused me to be more invested in this one than I usually would be in a mystery thriller. I've also read the prequel, the second book. It was really great as well. I recommend that one too. So if you're getting back into reading and you like thrillers and you want something a little bit different, I think this is a great option. And I think it also works well if you're newer to reading and you like thrillers because you do get that extra investment in the characters that keeps you wanting to read. The next one is a duology. I have read both books. This is the Crimson Moth duology by Kristen C. Corelli, and this one is a paranormal romance. The first book is called Heartless Hunter, and in the first book, Heartless Hunter, we follow Rune, who is a witch, and Gideon, who is a witch hunter. Gideon is the captain of the guard. He was an important part of the revolution against the witch queens, and now after this revolution, any woman who is suspected of being a witch is arrested and gotten rid of. Rune hides the fact that she is a witch by pretending to be this vain socialite. And while she is playing this part, she also collects important info on how to help witches that have been captured. And by night, she's the Crimson Moth, and she is a witch vigilante who helps free witches who have been arrested. But then one of Rune's missions goes wrong, and to throw the guard off her scent and try to gain some information, she decides to try to court Gideon. And Gideon goes along with this and courts her back because he is suspicious that she is somehow involved with the Crimson Moth. And this one was just really exciting and had great tension. We get both of their POVs, so we get to see the deception on both sides and what they're both planning, and their struggles to figure out how they feel and where they stand and all of that back and forth. Heartless Hunter was the first book that once I got to the second half, I just had to sit down and binge it It was just full of crazy twists and exciting reveals. I got really invested in the characters. I had to know what was going to happen there. This duology is great for getting into more like paranormal fantasy because it will keep you wanting to read and just needing to know what's going to happen. The world building and magic is pretty straightforward. The plot is addicting. So I think this is a great one to start with to get into paranormal fantasy romance. Next up is an incomplete trilogy, which is the Wolf King trilogy by Lauren Powell Freeman. And this is a paranormal romance trilogy with wolf shifters. And in the first book, The Wolf King, we follow Aurora, who is a princess. And Aurora is in a political engagement with a man that she really does not like. She does not want to marry him. This man captures wolf shifters and forces them to fight as a form of entertainment for the wealthy. One night, Aurora is with him watching one of these fights, and an alpha is put up against a young boy. So Aurora decides to stop this fight. That night, the alpha escapes, and he takes Aurora with him to use to bargain with her father, the king, and with her fiance. And like I said, I'm warning you now, this is an unfinished trilogy. The second book does leave off on a pretty bad cliffhanger. This is a love triangle. And the third and final book has been pushed back a few times. It's now set to come out in May of 2027. So there will be a pretty long wait if you read this one right now. So if you don't want to wait, you could wait and read this one later, or you could read it now, do a reread, whatever you want to do. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. But this was the first time that I've read a series and I truly felt like addicted to it. Like I just could not stop thinking about it. And I didn't expect it. I didn't think I was gonna like this. And I gave both books 5 stars. I binged my way through both of them. I truly was hooked from the very first chapter. I don't know what it is. There's just something in these books that is addicting. I really loved the Scottish Highlands inspired world we get in this. The setting and atmosphere really pulled me in. I think that was a big part of what I loved so much about it. The wolf shifters were really fun. I don't usually read wolf shifter books. This is great if you want something that's fun, intense, and that you won't want to put down. This is great if you're getting back into reading and you want something that's going to hook you, but just be prepared to wait on that final book. Next up is the Letters of Enchantment duology by Rebecca Ross. And this is a finished YA romantasy duology. And this is set in a world where a god and a goddess are at war. And we follow Iris and Roman, who are both journalists working at the Oath Gazette. And they are both competing for the columnist position. Iris is kind of struggling to keep things afloat at home because her mother is struggling with alcohol. She has quit her job, and Iris's older brother Forrest has enlisted and is in the war. So all of the responsibilities have really fallen on her. And Roman comes from this wealthy family who believes he should have just been given this position and that they're above Iris and he just deserved to be columnist over her. And Iris has been writing letters to her brother Forrest, but what she doesn't realize is that her letters have actually been going to Roman. And Roman knows that she is the one writing them based off of some of the things that she has said in her letters. And this is one of my all-time favorites. And this is the only series that I have reread. Both books were 5 stars both times I read them. And I put this one on the list because when I looked back at my reading, after I finished this duology is when I really started to just suddenly read a lot more and when I suddenly wanted to read a lot more. So it definitely worked to get me into reading. The writing is beautiful. The characters are some of my favorites. Their story is beautiful and heart-wrenching, and I loved it just as much the second time around. So if you think beautiful writing and an enchanting atmosphere is more appealing to you, then I think this is a great place to start. And then next we have the Elements of Cadence duology by Rebecca Ross. This is a completed romantasy duology set in a Scottish Highlands inspired world. We follow Jack, who has been away from the Isle of Cadence for a decade, and he's been studying music at the university on the mainland. Jack is summoned home when young girls start disappearing because it is believed that the spirits of the Isle are behind these disappearances, and the only way to summon these spirits is with a bard's music. When Jack gets to Cadence, he learns that he was actually summoned by the Lord of Tamerlane's daughter, Adara, who also happens to be Jack's childhood enemy, and the two of them have to work together to try to find these missing girls. This is another one of my all-time favorites. This one has fae with elemental magic that really control this isle, and the isle really feels alive and like a character. This one also has beautiful writing. There ends up being like 4 or 5 POVs in this duology, and I loved all of them. The main characters are great, but I think the side characters in the side character romance are actually my favorite. I really loved them. The magic system was really interesting but not confusing. People wield magic through their craft, like Jack and his music. There's also like these plaid shawls that are made that can be enchanted to act as armor, things like that. This was just one of the most enchanting stories I've ever read. I think this would work well for someone who's starting out and might enjoy a Scottish Highlands inspired world that is alive and enchanting and feels like a character itself sometimes. Beautiful writing and characters that are flawed, but that we get to see grow and have great journeys. Next we have The Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillick, and this is a finished dark fantasy romance duology. This is set in Blunder, and Blunder has been cursed with this mist that surrounds it, and this mist causes a fever, and after the fever clears, people get magical powers. It's believed that the people who get this fever are dangerous, so anyone who is suspected of having caught it is rounded up by the King's Destriers and gotten rid of. And one of our main characters, Elspeth, had this fever as a child, but no one besides her family knows this. And even they think that she just somehow didn't get magical powers, but she did. She has an ancient spirit called the Nightmare living in her head. There's also Providence cards that are kind of similar to tarot cards, and they are a legal way to use magic, but they are extremely rare and valuable. And one night, Elspeth is stopped by a masked highwayman who she assumes is just looking for these cards to sell, but she finds out it's actually the king's nephew and the captain of the Destriers, who is hoping to find all of these cards and reunite them to stop the curse. And so the two of them end up working together to find all 12 of these cards. And this one is a darker fantasy with a really great gothic atmosphere. And I really found after I read this that I think that is my preferred kind of fantasy. We start out single POV, just Elspeth in the first book. And then in the second book, we get quite a few POVs. I really liked all of them. I really liked the writing style in this duology. The writing is beautiful. I didn't think it was overdone. Some people do, but I enjoyed it. The magic system was really unique. The romance that we do get is great, but this is more fantasy forward. So if you're wanting to try out a darker fantasy with a side of romance, then I think this is a great place to start. Next up is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, and this is the first book in the Wicked Games. This is an unfinished series. I'm not sure how many books there's going to be. There's 2 out right now. I've only read the first one, but these are paranormal romance interconnected standalones, so you could read it now. It's not a big deal. You don't have to read the next ones right away or at all if you don't want to. So that's why I'm not in like a huge rush to get to the next book. You could read it now and be just fine. The story wraps up well. But in this first book, we follow Ophelia, and Ophelia's sister ends up entering Phantasma, which is a deadly contest inside of a haunted mansion. The contestants face 9 trials, and there can only be one winner. And in order to try to save her sister, Ophelia decides to join Phantasma as well. And once she's in the mansion, a phantom named Blackwell offers her a bargain where he will guide her through the trials in exchange for a decade of her life. And I had a really good time with this book. The trials were really interesting. The mansion itself was really intriguing. I really liked the characters. The romance had great chemistry and tension. It was pretty fast-paced and easy to read. So if you're looking for a good paranormal romance series to start with, I think this is a really fun one and a great place to start. Next up, we have To Cage a Wild Bird by Brooke Fast. And this is the first book in the Divided Fates, I believe, duology. It's incomplete. And this one is a dystopian romance duology. And this one is set in Davidium. In Davidium, committing any crime means getting a life sentence to Enlock Prison. And in Enlock Prison, the wealthy hunt the prisoners for sport. We follow Raven, who is Davidium's most notorious bounty hunter. One day, Raven's brother is arrested and sent to Enlock Prison. So Raven gets herself arrested, hoping to be able to find a way to free him. This one is shorter. It's faster paced. It was an easy read. I thought the plot was super engaging and exciting. I ended up really liking these characters and rooting for them. The romance was good. It does kind of come out of nowhere, but I still liked them regardless. This has commentary on classism and taking down the system, and power-hungry upper class who will do anything to maintain their status. I think if you're looking to get into dystopian, this is a great starting point. This is one of the first dystopians I read, so I would definitely check this one out. So these last 2 series I'm going to mention are super popular. A lot of people have probably heard of them, but I thought I would bring them up just in case you haven't heard of them. The first one is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and this is an incomplete romantasy series. There's 5 books out right now. There's 2 more planned to come out fairly soon, one in October and one in January. In the first book, which is called A Court of Thorns and Roses, we follow Feyre. And Feyre is out in the woods hunting food for her family. She hunts a wolf and takes it home. And later, a terrifying creature shows up demanding retribution because this wolf she hunted was actually a Fae in disguise. And the terrifying creature is this Fae's High Lord. The High Lord, Tamlin, takes Feyre back to the Spring Court, where he holds her prisoner. This was the first romantasy I read as an adult, and it did get me back into the genre. The series is full of twists and turns. It evolves throughout. I really love the characters in this series. They're some of my favorite characters in these books. The found family is also one of my favorites. The characters are more flawed, and those tend to be my favorite kind of characters. We do also get to see growth from some of them, and I really loved that as well. I think this worked really well when I was getting back into reading, specifically reading this genre, because it's not too complicated, but still has world building, still has a good plot. To me, it has almost like this fairy tale feel, especially the first book, and that pulled me in and worked really well for me. There's also 2 other series that are set in this same world, and they are all somehow connected. The other 2 series are Throne of Glass and Crescent City. I have finished all of ACOTAR of what's out. I'm currently reading Throne of Glass, and I haven't started Crescent City yet. But so far, I also really enjoy Throne of Glass. So if you read and finish ACOTAR, you like it, and you don't know where to go next, I think Throne of Glass is a great option. I think for me, when I first started reading ACOTAR, having this larger universe that I had the option to continue on in was just really exciting and fun, especially because I didn't have a whole lot on my TBR. You don't have to read all the series if you don't want to, but if you think you would enjoy something that has like a larger universe, multiple series, and you want a bigger commitment, and you think that would work for you getting into reading like it did for me, then I think this is a great option. And then lastly, we have the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. This is an unfinished romantasy series. We have 3 books out right now, and there's a novella coming out, I believe, in September. The first book is called Fourth Wing, and in Fourth Wing, we follow Violet. Violet is a first year in the Writers Quadrant at Basgiath War College. The Writers Quadrant is super dangerous and competitive. Many of them don't survive. Those that survive their first few months attempt to bond with a dragon, and those that succeed learn to wield powers that are given to them through this bond, and learn to ride their dragons to fight in this war. And this one is perfect if you're looking for something with more lovable characters and a great found family with an exciting plot. The writing isn't perfect, but I have a really good time with these books. The world building and magic is easy to follow. The focus is more on the characters and the training and the circumstances behind the war. The dragons are really fun. They become characters themselves. This is a great one to start with if you're new to fantasy and want something where the fantasy elements are easy to understand, but the plot is intriguing, and there's a large cast of characters that will have you rooting for them and wanting to see more of them, wanting to see them succeed. But that's going to be all of the books on this list. Let me know in the comments below if any of these intrigue you. I'll leave my Instagram and my Goodreads in the description if you're interested. I would really appreciate it if you check them out. But that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in the next one.